vigorously presses it again, because he can't resist it. As soon as he presses it, they are all alone again. He wonders why the villagers went away without telling him anything. While he is pondering this, someone attacks him from behind, which he dodges just in time before he becomes pulp. There is a fat goon who looks quite furious and calls our hero someone who smells like onion, which kind of fits him. After observing the behavior of this new villain, our expert player concludes he must be the mercenary NPC. The mercenary is quite furious because he has been trying to hunt the boss monster for 10 years, and our player has messed up his effort. While both of them insult each other, calling names, the mercenary attacks our boy, who dodges his every move. Doogie uses the skip skill to let the onion recharge. However, it still has 20 seconds left to recharge fully, which makes the player quite furious at the useless onion. The mercenary attacks him again while taunting him about how useless he is and didn't even have a proper weapon. He even exclaims that he defeated the toad purely by luck, which will end here. He even claims that no one can be saved after being hit with his saliva skill, which makes our guy smile with smugness. As he sees the enemy's weapon rushing towards him, he blocks the attack with his fireworks slap. Seeing this, the villain smiles evilly, while realizing that finally, our hero has some skill up his sleeve. He transforms into his enhanced form, while sporting the body of a flashy wrestler. This villain then claims that he is going to show our hero his real power as the 213th leader of his guild. This claim makes our hero laugh, who is mocking at the fact that this guy is the lowest member of his guild. He gets ready with his enhanced arsenal skill while making fun of the villain's name. This infuriates the mercenary, who declares he won't give our dude an opening. But our hero is determined to burn him up with his skill. However, bad luck strikes our player, because as soon as he touches the opponent's body to attack, nothing happens. It is revealed that he doesn't have enough mana to use his skill. Now it comes to his last option, which is to fight with his adopted son. However, the said son doesn't want to do it because of his hate for squishy things. Before the mercenary can kill him with a punch, or he has to use the little octopus to fight, his onion sword decides to be useful for a while and blocks the enemy's attack. This infuriates his opponent even more, leading him to attack with greater force. The dude starts to run away with a laugh while thinking that if this is the number 213 leader, so it will be child's play to defeat him as the number 1 veteran streamer. Then, with one slash of his sword, he finally cuts the fat meat of the mercenary in two. This bizarre act earns him the animosity of the diet-obsessed players whose number 213 leader he has killed. Not only that, he has achieved something truly bizarre, which is an achievement that will attract animosity from everyone in the game. His grand posture freezes after hearing this. He yells how this system could be this childish to annoy him when his rival like Sun Oh-kyung is enough to do that. Octopus states that it is him who is strange. Anyway, now our strange hero turns to the things he gets after defeating the mercenary. It is a squashy-looking thing that is despised by our cute little octopus besides a rock. Doogie retorts that it hates the onion as well. Then he turns to the information his system contains about this thing. This thing is called very sticky saliva, which is a kind of very strong poison that ruins the things it touches. After knowing this, our MC has a very evil expression on his face while thinking of selling it to pay his debt. The scene shifts to the streaming of Sun Oh-kyung, who is fighting with numbers of monkey that will respawn in this particular location. The clever girl chooses the perfect location to ambush the monsters in order to level up. She sets the trap to kill the monster and turns to its companions, killing them all with the auto hunt. After completing her task, she pretends to look tired because she stands in the same spot for a longer time. As a result, she is now level 150, having leveled up twice in the last 10 hours. On the other hand, while looking at her stream, our dude is quite cross about her finding a cheating spot and making content about it. He is determined to unfollow her, but then he looks at her cute pose and starts drooling over her. So he has changed his mind about unsubscribing her. To see his expression, his son protests about how he is drooling over her instead of finding a buyer for the very sticky saliva. At that, he answers that no one is willing to buy, even in the auction. With frustration, he decides to throw it to the king in order to reduce his debt. The little octopus also likes this idea and comments on how he is getting some nice thoughts now. While pulling its cheek, he informs it that now it is time to check his stats. Kraken asks whether he is going to raise strength stats as a melee character. He then informs his little son about the stats in this game, as they usually revolve around strength for physical warriors and intelligence for mages. Besides, there are also stats like agility, speed, and durability, etc. Basically, the gamer focuses more on raising these two kinds of stats, even in a virtual game, while building their character. But this bizarre guy decides to use it for his wisdom. With that, he bets all of his stat points to raise his wisdom with great posture. Afterwards, his mana also increases to 25,000 points. To see this development, Kraken is not happy, as he has used all of his points for mana, which is not going to make him number 1. To see him repeat the same line 2 times, he is kind of giddy, while expecting such a crazy reaction from his fans. He adds that this game is all about skill, and he can't gain skill through strength points because of his useless weapon in the form of an onion, and he can cheat with the MCT points. Moreover, this speedy concept will help him raise his mana points, which will be helpful to use high-level skill in a fight. With a laugh, he is happy to drive his aggro crazy, while annoys Okyung after obtaining the titles such as the All-Wisdom Warrior. While tossing the stone in his hand, he daydreams about how he is going to show his strength as the All-Wisdom Warrior while fighting against some guy who is going to challenge him, like that fat mercenary. He wonders if there will be anyone willing to pick a fight. To see him distracted, Kraken scolds him to stop playing with the stone. With a scoff on his face, he checks whether the stone is useful. Instead, it's just a regular dry stone. Upon learning this, he states that he was just playing with it because of its firm grip and then tosses it away quickly, which makes Kraken quite happy. Then it asks about their next destination. He looks around and thinks out loud that the game usually shows him the skip button in this situation, but now he doesn't understand the reason behind the piece. As soon as he utters skip, his skill activates. With that, the dry stone he threw into the water pierces from inside. It turns out to be a seed instead of a stone. Seeing the large growing plants in front of him, he comments on how this stone turned out to be a beanstalk from the story of Jack. To see the plant thicker on the inside, Kraken comments that he might have seen it before. Then they get closer to it and look inside, which seems like a very deep well. He even comments that it's like a beanstalk growing downward. The next moment, he jumps inside with joy on his face because it reflects his status as a true gamer. However, after a while, his joy turns to an expression of utter boredom when he realizes that this thing is truly a large beanstalk growing downward. To save him, his son is holding on to him, to whom he consoles that they are just going to reach the bottom. However, after 30 minutes, they is still in the air, and he still insists that they are getting closer to the land. After 1 hour, Kraken tentacles are numb while holding our dude, and he is frustrated to be unable to use the skip skill. Finally, after a while, they land on the land peacefully, thanks to our little octopus, who now looks like a withered balloon. At that, he innocently tries to console him that he should believe him, which the little octopus annoyed to. At this moment, he gets the achievement of finding this hidden dungeon before anyone. He will get a reward after completing the task. With a smug expression, he steps forward as the All-Wisdom Warrior. However, before he can get inside, one of the huge statues of stone start to attack him. But our guy is still calm about this attack because he is starting to stream and hopes to get attention from this new phase of the game from his viewers. He is dodging each of the attacks while counterattacking with the firework slaps, which he can use twice now. After defeating the statue, he exclaims how this is the power of the All-Wisdom Warrior, who raises his mana points. At the next moment, he feels quite awkward because he is talking to himself. Kraken then asks him the reason for talking to himself besides his method of knowing the upcoming status attack. At that, he is embarrassed to say anything first, then explains that it is because there is a statue that doesn't match with another, so it is easy for him as a streamer to know it's a monster. But the thing is, this feat looks quite easy opposite to his expectation. However, the next moment, he sees another entity inside the dungeon that looks like a ghost of some previous life wrestler. This guy in a weird costume claims that it's foolish for our dude to be somewhere called the Adventurer's Grave. As the stone statue is coming towards him in anger, he decides to look cool and fearless, and claims that the only thing that is foolish is this stone statue's costume. After jumping high in the air, and this statue is about to take out our guy, but he dodges just in time. After looking at his flat face caused by the fall to the ground, he concludes that his body must be solid. To avoid the damage, the statue is clever enough to slide towards him. He is running from the enemy while the octopus complains about him running and not doing anything. At the last moment, when the stone ghost is going to get him, which he dodges, causing the ghost to tackle to the wall. To sense his intention, his son has already warned him not to use it as a shield. He explains that he is dodging the attack in order to observe the statue's tactic. Besides, he doesn't have enough points to fight with him. At that, he earns the title of the Weak from his son, who also urges him to fight as he doesn't want to be hit by this ghost. At the very next moment, our guy has a big smile on his face like he has some plan but isn't sure about his calculations regarding it. But he knows one thing, that he can use his speed. With that, he uses his skip skill in order to outpace the stone statue, which resulting in him hitting the stone ghost in a vital part. Afterwards, the system congratulates him for using a skill whose description he didn't bother to read. Is amazed to see it work in his favor. Besides, our dude also gets another weird achievement. On the other side, the status is ready to attack him again. To observe its moves, he uses both skip and fireworks slap one after another in order to get a larger effect. To see the impact of the combination of both skills, he uses the skip skill several times. However, the stone ghost seems like a masochist who is quite enjoying the attacks from our dude. He even feels refreshed after being hit so many times, as he has seen something similar after a long time. At that moment, he claps both of his hands, which makes our player nervous because the knight also says something like this. He ponders whether there is any backstory regarding his skill. He even remarks that this stone statue is not that strong, which raises a protest from Kraken, who points out that he is going to be killed by statue's strength. Ignoring his son's worry, he lands on the ground and expresses his curiosity to know about the hidden job. While attacking it with his fists, the adventurer asks whether he has a hidden class job. With that, he remarks that he thought that it was a dead trend, but now he is going to end the legacy of the hidden job with our dude while showing him the grand sword that is equal to his size. While taking an onion out of his pocket, he finally declares that he will use his mind after being cornered by this annoying statue. The enemy is rushing towards him while challenging him to put everything into the fight. He uses the skip skill and dodges this attack, and the next moment he is blocking his opponent's attack with his onion sword. At that, our dude warns him to watch his step. However, the stone statue is quite baffled to see something in our hero. Meanwhile, Doogie thinks that even as a level 50, the enemy should be different. Not only this, he has now observed the fighting pattern of his opponent, so he is sure of his skill now. At that, he uses his arsenal skill on his sword and tries to attack him. Seeing him attack like this, the enemy has a smug expression on his face, as he is expecting something like this from this new candidate for a hero. With that, Ghost used his giant sword to attack our dude with all his might, which he counters with his numerous skips. The statue compliments him, saying he has become faster and sharper thanks to his skip skill. Then, there is a big clash between them, but no one has the upper hand. However, our hero has something in mind as he uses Wild Swing for 4 continuous slashes. This is the level 99 technique in which he uses all of his force. Consequently, to the utter shock of the stone statue itself, it is cut into many pieces. Afterward, he claims that it is his power as the All-Wisdom Warrior, which prompts a compliment from his son about how cool he looks. He then turns to his audience and tells them that because of his newfound skill, he can use Wild Swing 4 times now, compared to the last time. With a weird laugh, he also suggests his audience to beat the bosses like he is doing while observing their fighting patterns and using the skill accordingly. He adds that he is going to create more content about the so-called All-Wisdom Warrior in the future and urges his audience to like and subscribe. But before he can say any more, his system interrupts him. He is informed that unknown stacks have been accumulated, and he also gets 1 point to the hero talent after completing the quest of the adventurer's grave. After looking at his screen, he concludes that this point system has something to do with his requirements to become a hero. Suddenly, he is startled to hear someone interjecting by agreeing with him.